You speak so much on all issues. Is it frustrating as a parliamentarian? Are you disillusioned also maybe with the process?
For anyone to get into non-fiction, the first book you read it to understand India is The Discovery of India by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I remember my father used to keep telling me that this is one book you should read. And I used to be like, how can anyone read, these non-fiction books?
How do you keep politics out?
So
it's easier said than done, no?
I do that because if you actually engage a lot with the youth of this country, they want a narrative which is independent of these. We are reducing ourselves to tribes again.
You would perhaps get accused of living in denialism of caste, the bitter realities.
Am I any lesser Hindu? No, I'm not. But will I wear it on my sleeve for my politics? No, I won't.
Have there been moments when you've thought, ho gaya bas, ab now I can't do this anymore?
You have no idea how many times.
You've been keeping count.
I sometimes keep telling this to my husband. And the worst part is that they call it the woke agenda. What? Woke agenda? Expecting my children to be able to breathe clean air is not woke agenda.
Who says it's woke agenda? Who's going to bell the cat? Who's going to hold them accountable?
That accountability that you all were seeking in 2014 is absolutely non-existent in 2025. People of this country are worried about their jobs, worried about the future of their children, their education, their health. Look at where we are living right now, the air pollution. Where are the women? A. B. When is the time? When are you bringing them in? I said good friends do not necessarily make good strategy for the nation. You may have very good personal chemistry. You may have personal, regards for each other. But ultimately, it is how it benefits your nation.
Hello and a warm welcome. I'm Smitasharma. Welcome to this special series. We're bringing in conversations with thought leaders who happen to be women. And women, of course, who have not just broken the glass ceiling, but who bring in a whole bunch of wisdom, insights, the areas of expertise that they have excelled at. Do check out the conversation with Yamini Iyer, one of our foremost, in fact, public policy scholars. And today I have somebody who is feisty, vocal, is definitely somebody who cannot be missed in Parliament or even outside of it, Priyanka Chaturvedi, who is a senior leader with the Sena UBT and also a member of the Sabha. Priyanka, thank you so much for joining me here in this conversation.
Thanks, Smita. After calling me a thought leader, I'm sure you're going to be trolled from both sides.
That's your expertise. I try and maintain my distance now from social media. Honestly, I think it drains you out. But tell me honestly, Priyanka, so what was of course, your political base, the roots also went way back into your college life. But what really was the defining moment when you knew you wanted to be in politics?
So to be honest, there was no role of politics in my life during my college days. I had never ever thought I'd be there. Never ever thought I'd even try and break those barriers that exist for people who come from non-political background, because there are some spaces that you realize it's not worth it. I used to be that kind of a believer that it's not worth it. It's not the space I want to be in. And who will take the effort and energy to break down those barriers, right, of people coming from non-political backgrounds? I think that one barrier was broken by Sri Rahul Gandhi when in the Indian Youth Congress, he started to bring in more people who are from non-political background. So my entire journey actually began from, when my thought process changed about how I need to be an active citizen, involved citizen, was post 26/11 terror attacks in Mumbai. That kind of changed my thought trajectory, that right from just being a voter and totally disconnected from our politics and policy was not how it should be. I should be more involved. And then the Indian Youth Congress initiative came about. I was, of course, very skeptical about it when they approached me. I thought that, no one would want to break down those barriers that have been existing for so many years and give you that space. But somehow it did, and it worked for me. Initially, I was not in not an administrative profile, or there was no role given to me per se. I was just one of the voters in the Indian Youth Congress process to make someone the president, etc. But then I continue to engage and get involved, and that is how you see where I am today. So yes, I have in the process broken some barriers and also created some controversies.
We'll come to that in just a bit. But, of course, your family wasn't really into politics. Did you have big political connections? So what were their initial reactions? Even if you were coming in through the process of the Indian Youth Congress, were they started to look at it with skepticism? What was your original plan? What did Priyanka Chaturvedi in college, in school, want to be?
So, okay, when I was in college, I wanted to be an author and a travel writer.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to write about it. I wanted to, because, a lot of my worldview was shaped by books, because I was I used to read a lot, voracious reader. I was not a very outdoor person. And I saw a world, a book used to take you across the world without having to travel. And you understood how things function in various parts of the geography. So that was something I really thought I would do. I would be a writer. I would travel. I would write, maybe some fiction, some happy fiction, some fun fiction. That was the idea. It was to be more easygoing. I never thought I'll get into the rough and tumble of politics, but at least it has given me enough content to write that fun book that I've always.
And you're traveling a lot. You're also traveling a lot. Who were the kind of authors that you were really into?
So there were many. I mean, I would say I started with Agatha Christie, Sidney Sheldon, Ken Follett, and then I got into non-fiction books, and of course, for anyone to get into non-fiction, the first book you read it to understand India is The Discovery of India by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I remember my father used to keep telling me that.
You know why most people don't finish what they start? No, it is not laziness.
This is one book you should read. And I used to be like, how can anyone read, these non-fiction books? And that is how I started to read and understand and get more involved. And then so this is how it is. The reading can encompass anything. P.G. Wodehouse is one person I always aspire to kind of be able to write like he did. Yeah. So it's interesting. There's a whole lot of people I read, a lot of Indian writers I read, especially Kiran Desai was someone I really liked. Kiran Mandral, a friend who writes books.
A mutual one.
Yes, a mutual friend, yes. So yes, I keep picking up books. In fact, even yesterday I was at Bari Sons and picking up books. So yeah, so that is what I wanted to be. Politics happened. And my parents, I mean, everybody was extremely skeptical, just like I was initially, that would I survive? Would I be able to live through this entire process? Would there be spaces created for me? Would I have to create those spaces? And I was not really an aggressive person. If I don't do the pushing, etc. I'm not running to be on the stage. I'm not the one running to get a photograph. So, my husband said, you're such a misfit. You don't want to, spend your time on this, right? So, but we did. Now we are where we are, and he's also equally 100% involved in helping out with the kids and with their, with running the house, and
which is fantastic.
Also, he had. I mean, both of us realized that it came with a whole lot of responsibilities, and the more I got involved, the more he had to take responsibilities to ensure that there was no loss of continuity in ensuring the children had one parent around.
But what was the family politically very alert and aware? I mean, I remember the days of growing up when those 8 p.m., 9 p.m. debates on television shows used to be sacrosanct. Whole puri family ko sofe pe baithna ek saath, and and the father would make us all watch the news clips.
Yes.
Mercifully, I hope no parent is asking their kids to watch the current news debates. If you are, God bless
we'd
you.
Be mentally silly if you even force our children to watch the kind of contents that we have on television. But yes, my father was very politically inclined. I think those who come from Uttar Pradesh are wired to talk about politics, so they believe they know everything about politics. And
your roots lie in Mathura. Right?
My parents are from there, but my father was very engaged. And I do remember at one point in time, he was thinking of giving up his job, and we are like 4 sisters and a brother, and he was thinking of giving up his job to get into active politics, which my mother actively discouraged. That listen, you have a responsibility at home. You can't be just leaving everything and getting into politics. It serves no purpose. So that was the kind of involvement he had, because he has a very political bent of mind, and he used to get me to watch television. Not just that, my father used to write columns about his opinion on politics for Hindi newspapers. So he used to contribute letters to the editor. He used to love writing, and he used to make me do that writing because his handwriting was not very legible. So he used to tell me, why don't you sit down, Why don't you write what I'm asking you to write? So he used to dictate, I used to write. So my political thought process was also shaped a lot by him. So when he offers you a discovery of India, you know what his political bent of mind is, right? So, and then of course the Doordarshan, and they used to be the most boring bulletins, but now I really miss them because at least they had some truth to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started my career, of course, with Doordarshan, and I know there is always this sort of nostalgic churning for Doordarshan. At the end of the day, I know there's no screaming, shouting, it's a lot of grace, but let's not forget that's also,
it's a
propaganda, government broadcast and narrative, but any day soothing to hear.
But yeah, soothing. You know, you just want to hear the anchor saying what they're saying, right? And then you can use your own brains to understand and filter what is right, what is wrong. Unfortunately, we don't live in those times. So that is, yes, that was one. And when I got married into Vikram's family, so I do know that even Vikram's parents, because they come from Uttar Pradesh, they also had a very important opinion about politics. And surprise, surprise, both my side of the family and his side of the family are two different political ideologies.
Ouch.
so it was pretty interesting when I told them that this is what I'm planning to do. So yeah, we found some peace.
But I think in the last, ever since, of course, the BJP government has come into power, this has actually become a reality now of more and more couples or relationships getting polarized to the extent I have lost out on a lot of friends over the last 10, 11 years, or people that I thought to be as close friends, but I find it difficult now to, sit down and really have a conversation unless work calls for it. So this do you feel like, have you learned a trick or two on how to navigate these situations?
Absolutely. I prefer maintaining my relations and keeping politics out of it. Maybe because I do this 24/7, they all know what my opinion is.
How do you keep politics out? It's easier said than done.
No, I do that because it has led to many, scenarios, even within my parents' side of the family, because we have 4 sisters and a brother, and my brother, everyone is now married. They have children, adult children of voting age. They all have a mind of their own. They all have their very strong opinions. So do we allow political opinions to overtake our family relations? Is a balancing thing that I did. I chose that whenever we all meet, because we've had those, especially in 2014, my God, there were moments where we used to have this shouting matches at homes on the dining tables, with some walking out, some leaving the WhatsApp groups and blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
So we've been through that. And then we decided, listen, mental peace is more important. You go do what you do, where you vote, you hang around with your set of friends. But yes, I've also noticed that this has created more silos, where people are going into their own rabbit holes to talk about their politics and their beliefs. Nobody's engaging anymore because it leads to very intense situations these days.
No, I mean, WhatsApp groups to jahan mile exit kar hi lena chahiye. I'm all for it. But, I think it's one thing to say don't discuss politics, but it's another thing when politics actually impacts your lives because of, not all families are homogeneously weaved into one caste or one community. Right. Increasingly, there are cases where there may have been interreligious marriages, intercaste marriages. And I think those then become minefields, because you may say that I don't want to discuss a certain party's politics, but if that party's politics is really impacting a certain community in a large way, it becomes very complicated.
One thing, Smita, people are not changing your opinion sitting on dining tables. Neither are you going to change it. They have made up their minds. And let me tell you, I have navigated this space. Okay, let me engage with you. Let me at least try and explain to you. It leads to whataboutery. And that whataboutery also leads to own sense of opinion becoming stronger and stronger. So is it, you have an opinion, you will go express it at the ballot box. We definitely talk on issues, right? Issues impacting the country. But we're doing it minus the political parties. So those are things you navigate. And for me, I've maintained relations with people, but yes, some who've gone so rabid.
Stop wasting time applying for jobs on LinkedIn or Naukri or other online job portals.
It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't. We've had friends also who have been influenced, have a particular opinion, but then at some point in time, you realize that one dining table conversation is not going to change anything.
What is a non-negotiable for you when it comes to principles and values?
A non-negotiable for me would be that for example, even when the media now comes and talks about, one leader is saying this about the Hindu-Muslim thing, religion, reducing an individual to religious identities and caste identities and allowing the political schisms to exploit it. And the more opinion we offer as politicians, we are adding to that conversation. So that is something which is a no-go for me. I'm absolutely, people who work on these lines is something which is unacceptable to me.
But I mean, you're, again, with a party which has had a very strong Hindutva base and it takes pride in it, regardless of the past and whatever controversies may have, people may look at it. And the point is that you are part of the opposition. The opposition alliance for them, caste identity today, at least led by the Congress, is at the center of the conversations. A religious identity is something which is being exploited by both sides. So can you really stay away from it while you're in active politics?
I think we can create a narrative which needs to be done. And if you actually engage a lot with the youth of this country, they want a narrative which is independent of these. We are reducing ourselves to tribes again. That if you belong to this tribe, continue being here. We have to rise above it. And I can have an opinion, and that is the beauty of my party, that there are all shades of people in the party and in any political party. Anyone who says that there's no shade to a political person, that would be incorrect. So I personally feel that our conversations will need to be more about a united nation which matches the aspiration of the people of this country. People of this country are worried about their jobs, worried about the future of their children, their education, their health. Look at where we are living right now, the air pollution. We're still discussing that, but we are discussing about reservations, we're discussing about various other things that take away from the core issues that citizens are facing.
I'll come to you on air pollution, issues of public policy matter, but you would perhaps get accused of living in denialism of caste, the bitter realities.
Am I any lesser Hindu? No, I'm not. But will I wear it on my sleeve for my politics? No, I won't. Am I any less? I wouldn't take pride in because I haven't reduced myself to my caste. But I'm born with some surname, which is often accused of historical wrongs. But would I want to be reduced to just that narrative?
Not reduced to, but the fact that it is being brought as a matter of social justice, equality. Do you think it's a problematic narrative?
It's unfortunate that we are not talking if that social justice has achieved its aim. I know what I will say is very controversial. But my question is, are we actually reducing people to their caste identities, or we are talking from the social justice point? Nobody is. I hate to say it. Nobody is. Have we achieved the goals that we set out when the reservations happened? Are they giving equal opportunities to all the OBCs who are identified as other backward communities? Are all the SC/ST tribes getting the benefit of the social justice reservation? No, they're not. They have been cornered. And I don't say it. The outgoing Chief Justice himself has said this, Gavaiji, recently. But I'm just saying this because I feel that as people who have a voice should be understanding the need that, yes, we are sensitive to this point, that reservation may not have achieved the kind of purpose it should. And how do we make it better? That not one community should be able to corner everything. That was the problem initially why the reservations came in, right? And even in the reservations, if you look at OBC categories, they're categories of backward communities. And if you do a deep dive, you would understand that there are some categories within the OBC community which have taken a huge proportion of the so-called reservation system.
Isn't that where the demands for the caste census began, say, for instance, the insistence that unless you don't have the data in front of you, you'll not really get to know of which community is represented by what percentage, which community has really gained what, even something like caste census.
I'm not even against caste census. I did not even mention that. But I'm saying that caste census should also be done from not a political prism, from the prism of delivering social justice. I'm sorry, this becomes a political agenda every single time, every election. My point is, if we talk it from a policy angle, from a social justice angle, we'd probably be doing more justice to it. And it's as simple
so then, does Priyanka Chaturvedi kind of think that maybe this is also a reason why, if people like you think that there has to be a different sort of a narrative, there has to be a different way of looking at things. Is this something that the opposition is doing wrong? Is this something which is why Rahul Gandhi, despite moments of high peaks, is still not being able to connect to the masses in a way that, the acceptance level goes up?
No, I'm nobody to advise anybody. And I'm very junior in the ranks of the opposition too, to be telling what communication should be, political communication should be, or what we should be
You're being
focusing on.
modest.
No, I'm not being modest. I'm just being honest. So I'm the reason I say this is because as someone who in the Rajya Sabha would be probably amongst the younger MPs, and a first-time MP who's come from totally a background which was not into politics, and probably also very engaged through policy and through having traveled and understood how things work, systems work. Maybe I speak from that space. Maybe it's not a space which will get you the votes. Maybe it's not. So I have an opinion which I'm sharing with you, and I will largely go with the opinion which leaders feel will connect with the people. This is my personal opinion on these issues. I can only offer my personal opinion, but largely, opposition knows what it's doing. Opposition can also see the results of it. I don't need to spell it out.
Again, going back, like you said, that one of the first non-fiction books that your father gave you was, of course, The Discovery of India, and somebody who obviously respects the Nehruvian ideology. When you look at what is, the kind of India that we live in today, there are things that are going right, there are many things that are going wrong and problematic. And I know you're interested in foreign policy, you do a lot of it, you're also part of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on it. How do you look at this entire concept of Nehru bashing for everything, right? From policy issues to issues of the past to issues of foreign policy?
I have a huge problem with that. In hindsight, you might find faults with everything. But a person who's living in that moment and has to take the decisions he does or she does is doing it out of goodness for this nation and his belief that this decision will only help my nation. So to denigrate anybody or to speak of someone badly is extremely unfortunate, and pulling down your own leaders, irrespective of their political parties or their political thought process, is extremely unfortunate. Trying to wipe his name out from posters or his legacy, etc., will not reduce Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. It will only make people believe more in what he was saying, which was everybody should be able to speak what they want.
Prompt engineers are getting paid 3 crore rupees in United States, and in India they are getting paid 7.
Or live a life they want, the way they want, without being judged for it. So I have a huge problem with anybody going on this bashing spree about somebody, whether they speak about Indiraji, whether it is about Narasimha Raoji, whether it is about Dr. Manmohan Singh. I've lived through those times that they used to say the worst things about Dr. Manmohan Singh ji. The people who voted Modi ji in and then later realized that this is not how it should be, suddenly realized the virtues of Dr. Manmohan Singh ji at a time when they used to bash him non-stop. So that is what I always say. It is very easy to judge someone in hindsight. But you don't know what that person, the decisions the person took in that particular moment in time was a responsibility that was given to him by this very country. Good, bad, ugly, time will tell. But don't pull someone down and use that as a way to create more hate. So I'm totally against it.
I mean, whether people hate Gandhi, whether people hate Nehru, at the end of the day, these are still the statesmen, the vision that is shared across global capitals today. I mean, even Zohran Mamdani is quoting Nehru in his victory speech.
And everywhere we see, whenever they speak in the context of India, they do remember Mahatma Gandhi. He's an icon in itself. So every attempt it's like spitting at the moon. You can continue to spit. Ultimately, it will fall back on you. This is how it works. People see that and they see through it.
What do you think makes a good leader? What are the virtues that, for young people out there who want to take to politics? What is the kind of leadership skill that has inspired you and that you think is needed, the virtues needed to make a good leader?
I think there was something that Indira Gandhi ji said once. She was asked, would you consider yourself a left-leaning politician or a right-leaning politician? She said, I lean in whichever way my country benefits. So a politician, a leader, a thought leader should not be just a yes man or a yes woman, should be able to say what is wrong and confront what is wrong and say what is right is right. I have believed in this simply because that's how I've lived my life, and I offer my opinions without any filters on it too at times, which I'm accused of. My office keeps telling me that you're start to apply some filters. But I think I'll be doing huge disservice, because when I got into politics, it was my commitment to the people of this country, people of this country. So if we are going in the wrong direction, if my people are not thinking that we are going in the right direction, then maybe we need to relook. So that is how I believe. So anyone who wants to get into politics, I would say that you should have a strong mind of your own, be willing to take the brickbats, and also understand that your responsibility is towards the people of the country, and be able to say it and do it.
But how democratized are the structures really for people from ordinary backgrounds? I mean, I was looking at Bihar elections and people were saying, I think the cost of fighting an MLA elections today is what?
So
crore or
expensive.
two, at least, to begin with. I mean,
I wish.
how many people can really make it to politics?
Exactly. I mean, this was something that my husband also used to tell me, when I decided to get into politics. He's like, we don't have the kind of money that is needed for a politician to be able to sustain their lifestyle. You're not some celebrity who's well known to the country. Like, how a lot of celebrities and bureaucrats and former judges jump into politics immediately. Now people from the army too. You don't have that. And what is it that you see that you'd be able to contribute, or where will it take you even, right? So those are things that always I continue to ask myself, that contesting an election for an ordinary citizen is not easy. A political party may support you for XYZ, but the way the money is being spent, I wish Election Commission would work on that front.
Is the Election Commission actually working?
Is the Election Commission looking at those challenges? And that worries me. Are you addressing this issue of not having a level playing field? Are you addressing this issue of making it so difficult for people to even think of contesting an election? So those who have money will contest, those who don't have money but are capable may get the support from the party systems, of course, because that's officially you can give them some money. But is it being able to create a whole new set of leaders who have a mind of their own and to be able to speak for the nation? So those are things those are tough questions that the Election Commission needs to ask itself.
I mean, and that's also where, when it comes to the perspective of women in politics, again, it becomes a restraint, because half the time we do see, despite, of course, that historic legislation finally making it through Parliament about reservation, we don't know the timeline when it will come and how it will come. If you look at the dismal numbers of the women candidates, actually, whether it is Haryana, whether it is Maharashtra, whether it is Bihar, less than 10% of women candidates in the spectrum, and the women who are there also mostly are either related to somebody or it's in the family. How will it change?
No, and what is worse is, in fact, when it was getting passed, this particular bill, of course we all historic bill, everybody passed it. Even then my opinion was that, where are the women? A. B, when is the time? When are you bringing them in? So I was told later off the record conversations that starting from the next assembly, I said, any law that you bring in immediately. You don't say, we are giving you 2029 and then putting conditions to it, that delimitation census, and then add the numbers in the parliament. Why can't you do it on the existing number of parliamentarians? Why don't you do it that way? So it doesn't. So they've said, no, it's a long task. But believe me, as soon as the next parliament assembly elections happen, we will start applying the 33%. 33%. Where is it? I'll ask all the national parties. Hello, what pipeline are you creating? All. It's not just one, them or us. Who's doing it? And when it will, and believe me, Smita, the day this 33% reservation will come into existence, whenever it does, you'll be scrambling to find women leaders. And then you'll have simply because...
I mean, it's not like you don't have competent women.
No, of course you have. I did not mean to say at any point in time that we don't have competent women. But are you grooming them to take on this mantle? Are you grooming them for success? Simply because you will put them wherever the reservation exists, you will make a woman fight a woman, because that seat is all women. Balasaheb Thackerji, Vanya Hindu Hriday Samrat Balasaheb Thackerji had a very good opinion. He said, leave the 33%, get the political parties to ensure 33% seats are reserved for women and official positions. Otherwise, deregister them, debar them from contesting an election. But let them decide if a woman is capable to fight a man in a particular constituency. Why are you making it an all women fight, all men fight? Let women also compete with men. Why do you think women can only compete with other women and create more problems? You're actually not thought through. So this was an opinion which I quite share with him. That
in the corporate world, if you come across as too nice, people don't respect.
every political party should be given this mandate. So the number of seats you contest, the more number of women you have, right? Else you just have a standard 33% mandate across the country. And then all of them will be scrambling to find that one woman leader. And if you're in alliance, then one of them would probably end up getting it. But in this case, more political parties contesting will have a 33% reservation, bringing in more women. Second challenge is, are you creating a pipeline for women leaders? Now tell me, in their decision-making bodies, both, I'm talking about the national parties now, how many women leaders sit at the decision-making bodies or as election bodies, that who will contest, deciding the candidates? Hardly any. They're a handful. So till you don't bring in that into your systems, you will not even look at creating a pipeline. So suddenly you will have a surfeit of people, women from other spaces of work being asked to contest. And then you're setting them up for failure. They might win, but if they're unable to do their parliamentary commitments or their assembly commitments, then you're setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
So that was where I was coming from. I did not at any point say that women are not competent enough.
No,
they are competent, they are capable, but you have to groom them.
Yeah, true. And I think, this problem of not enough women sitting on that decision-making table is such a inherent problem with our society at large. Every morning you wake up and you see these full front page ads by other corporates, defense dialogues happening, and
the manels,
the 20 photographs that you see, either it will be one woman plus woman anchor, or one woman anchor and the rest are all men.
Yeah.
And this has been my personal grudge as a journalist for years, something you've tried to work on. And then when you bring up all these clauses, delimitation, blah, 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 it actually sounds like, the hot air balloons that have now been launched in Delhi, कि clean air नहीं दे सकते, तो hot air equally to gas तो दे सकते हैं.
इतना जहर वो करो, breathe करो, कि सीधा तुम अस्पताल पहुंचो.
You can have a bird's eye view of how polluted the city is, which brings me to the subject that you were. How do you make politicians and political parties really look at policies beyond politics? I mean, especially something like air pollution. Also today, I'm seeing the BJP IT cell is going on and on trying to defend, no, this is the cleanest winter in years, even if it's very high pollution. You have BJP in Haryana, in Punjab, in Uttar Pradesh, in Delhi. It's a 4-engine sarkar. Maharashtra also, the pollution levels have gone up so much. How do you make it a subject where you're really wanting to dive on policy?
This is something I really struggle with because when I got into the parliament, I thought that I would be able to create a caucus, convince, etc. But then reality hits, okay, and then the politics hits, and then the political differences are clearer. I felt that a lot of issues we need to rise above our politics and say, okay, let's get into this together. If we cannot, and for BJP, it's such a hypocritical stance because this was the major issue that they were confronting when Aam Aadmi Party was there. Major issue. Oh, look, it's coming from Punjab. Oh, look, it's coming from this, there, blah, blah, blah. And now the same LG is launching hot air balloons. I mean, where is our priority? What's our prerogative?
It's gaslighting, proper gaslighting.
Gaslighting apart, it's also showing I hate to use the word, the shamelessness. That once you come to power, you totally forget what you've told to the people. Now, I had introduced a private member's bill where at one point I felt, till the Prime Minister himself doesn't share something as important as climate change and air quality, air pollution, till then, none of the states are taking it seriously. Maybe because the Prime Minister is popular, whether the Prime Minister carries that weight.
Or maybe governance is just top heavy.
Whatever, centralized decision-making or whatever. Let the Prime Minister lead a council which has all the environment ministers of all the states, because what happens in Maharashtra may not be the same in Himachal, may not be the same as Uttarakhand, may not be the same as Jammu and Kashmir. Have the forest ministers, environment ministers, have climate scientists, have experts on the panels, have wildlife experts, bring them all together and find a scientific policy and do a weighted analysis of who's doing what and make the state governments understand why this is a priority. Because even if you look at Uttarakhand, look at the kind of landslides we have, look at the ecological disaster we are creating.
It's turning into an tapu, into an island.
Nobody is talking about it and nobody's prioritizing it. And we've had these multiple conversations where members of parliament have got together and tried to find out what we can do. And I've always said, till you don't instill fear in the voter's mind that what you're breathing right now may lead to sooner death, or your children having to suffer medical consequences and the health emergencies and the cost that comes to living. If half of the money that you earn is spent on your health, then it's a bad way to live.
Also, I don't understand. I mean, it almost makes it sound like the children of the political class are somehow not affected by air pollution. I mean, like, how?
No, everybody is.
Yeah.
I mean, and the worst, chalo, maybe a certain class of people will buy an air purifier. What about the daily wage laborer on the street? What about the animals on the street? What about those poor people who are left fending for themselves? What do you do about that? You owe this to the country. You owe this prioritization. And unfortunately, it doesn't become a part of any political party's political agenda until unless it benefits them politically.
Is it frustrating as a parliamentarian? I mean, are you disillusioned also maybe with the process?
I'm glad that I come from a party which prioritized environment, and as much as we got criticized for it, but when we were in Maharashtra, we ensured that that was sustainable development and keeping in mind ecology, environmental consequences. We were making our policies, which was beautiful. Of course, it pays no political dividend, but you're doing it because you're passionate about it and you are seeing the next generation also benefit out of what you're doing now. But at this current point in time, if you are in the parliament, you're made to, you can't have these conversations simply because it's like, hamara rajnetik fayda kya ho raha hai isse? Will people come and vote for me on the basis of environment? And then the worst part is that they call it the woke agenda. What woke agenda? Expecting my children to be able to breathe clean air is not woke agenda.
Who says it's woke agenda?
I've heard that so many times from so many people. Oh, that's so woke. That's so woke. You know what is woke? Woke is when you're coming up with an idea which is absolutely different from our ethos, culture, whatever. But this is not woke. If you
The
talk
person calling it woke, I hope they know the meaning of woke.
Whatever they think it is, I don't care. But my point is, our own cultural context is seeped in our environment. My own religion is seeped in its environment. We are praying to all gods, goddesses that are living beings. It could be an animal, it could be an insect, it could be the environment. 5 elements of nature of someone we worship. And then you say, oh, this is a woke agenda. My God, please get your context right. So this is something, yes, it does frustrate me a lot because
Big Basket, delivering India Gate oil in 10 minutes.
we don't end up talking more about it. and
Have
prioritizing.
there been moments when you've thought, ki ho gaya bas, ab now I can't do this anymore?
You have no idea how many times. How
You've been
many
keeping
times.
count.
Yeah, I sometimes keep telling this to my husband and to a lot of my friends that, okay, so this is one thing I wanted in my life, that I will join politics. I will probably see myself in the parliament. I've done it all. And this doesn't give me that mental level of satisfaction that there's so much more I can contribute as an Indian citizen. And they all tell me, if people like you end up leaving or giving
You
up,
haven't
or
even fought
not
a parliamentary election yet. Come on, then. It's not on the
I'm not too
agenda.
sure about fighting elections, but I'm very certain about fighting for the countrymen and their agenda, which is the air they breathe, the life they live, the quality that they deserve, and the per capita incomes that India deserves.
If you are sounding, this kind of disappointed in the parliamentary process, what hope does it really give to the young people, to Gen Zs, to the rest?
No. Let me just say this. I'm absolutely not disappointed being in the parliament. I'm disappointed.
the outcome of the process I'm talking
No.
about.
I'm disappointed about the prioritization of issues that matter to the people. So I personally, on a personal basis, I would want those things that immediately impact people should be high on priority. Unfortunately, that is not happening. So, and unfortunately, even people in the country, I've written this article a couple of times, that in India, we react, we outrage, we expect action only when some incident happens, and then we move on. Like in Mumbai, it's called the Mumbai spirit, which is now people spit on that
Which I
idea.
think is a sham, because it's a
Yes.
forced it's a compulsion of resilience.
Yeah,
What do you
looking at it
do?
with
You
rose
have to
tinted-
go on with
looking
life.
at disaster through rose-tinted glasses will not change the
It's
circumstances.
resilience, but it's a compulsion.
Yeah, so there's nothing like a Indian spirit or fighting spirit or the Mumbai spirit. It is making peace with whatever exists and not challenging the governance and the policies and the corruption. So that is what I mean. That
How will it change?
I think accountability was something that was the agenda in 2014. People need to be reminded that
Who's going to bell the cat? Who's going to hold them
that
accountable?
accountability that you all were seeking in 2014 is absolutely non-existent in 2025. Hello.
You have the enforcement directorate, IT, all kinds of agencies seeking accountability from the ones
It's
who even
actually
think of
sometimes
accountability
weird that
now.
Those policies which UPA brought in, like FEMA, what was it, the FEMA Act, etc., are now being weaponized to use against those very people who created them.
But the acts somehow, just because there are provisions in law, need not necessarily be that one has to really go. For that matter, there is no legal provision really of bulldozing homes, which has now become the act of justice.
That's another pain point in my life, that if you are going to become the judge and the jury, then do away with the Supreme Court, do away with the high courts, do away with all the trial courts, do away with it, no? District courts, khatam hi kar do. Supreme Court bole ja raha hai. वैसे तो you say, oh, respect the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is saying that what is happening with bulldozer justice is incorrect. But it continues. That is because you're getting the votes out of it. Because you're trying to create more divisions to a point that as much as you can exploit it, you will continue to do it. Then what happened to the Supreme Court?
Are we really still a democracy, Priyanka, or have we slid into being an electoral autocracy?
Supreme Court se mera sawal ye hoga, if I ever get a chance to ever, because I don't engage much in that sense, but ek to bata dete hain ki it's a contempt of court, anything that you say, but you are seeing a huge constitutional crisis where parties are split up through money. And these are engineered splits. These are not even splits coming out of discontent. These are engineered splits, where your division of votes, your party split, everything is manipulated. What should a constitutional bench do? Shouldn't it prioritize that the most? Because anything that is not prioritized becomes a template to follow for other states. I still ask the Supreme Court of India today, with all due respect, the template that has been formed of engineering a split and coming to power. If people have not voted you into power, then engineer a split and come to power. And by the virtue of not coming to a decision, a decisive decision which will bring down this kind of, this supremacy that is now we see in politics, will bring it down and bring us back to our constitution, is also unfortunately being delayed. So my point is just this, that we need to relook at accountability from all pillars of democracy.
So which is again bringing me back to my question, that I think it is well established that we do not have a level playing field anymore. Whether it is electoral bonds, whether it is split engineering of parties, whether it is the institutions, the investigative agencies. So in that context again, do you really think we are still a thriving democracy, or are we an electoral autocracy today?
I wouldn't call it autocracy, elected autocracy. I still call it a democracy, but a democracy which is in distress. It is in distress. And those who are committed to this idea would need to work towards rebuilding that confidence. It is unfortunate that, like I've already given you the entire idea of the Supreme Court and the trial courts and the Mumbai High Court, etc., they will need to probably work a little more harder to instill that confidence. There are bodies, these bodies were created to ensure that democracy doesn't die its death like it did during emergency, because people became henpecked.
Voice is simply faster, more natural, and more flexible than typing. He said he's voice pilled, and I can see why.
It's a smarter emergency now, no?
Yeah,
because everything is so pliant.
So that is my point. There was one which was declared. There's one which is undeclared, and everybody lives in this constant fear that what happens to our next position if we do this now. Right? It has become about a little bit of a give and take. I'll be hated for it, I'll be trolled for it, but I need to speak my mind. As a citizen of this country, more than a politician, it's about, are we even... So I call it a democracy in distress, because the 4 pillars of democracy should be fully functional and independently functional. They shouldn't start leaning on each other to safeguard power, positions, post-retirement jobs, blah, blah, blah.
You speak so much on all issues. I completely
Don't get
welcome
me into
it.
trouble now.
But
ED wale kaam mat karo.
I mean, here is somebody who, of course, says that I'm not, afraid of speaking my mind. You're in a parliament which is led by a prime minister who shies away from doing a single press conference in 11 years. How do you see this contradiction? I mean, he's a man who's very immensely popular, who has numbers, but what does it really speak about the state of the democracy if the prime minister refuses to give us a basic right of being able to ask him questions, unless, of course, these are filtered interviews that he's doing?
So can I say something? And it might sound like I'm speaking something which is out of I shouldn't be speaking, but since I'm being frank, do you realize people don't care about it? It is an issue for us. I will continue to say, why is the Prime Minister not taking the free press? Why is he not answering questions?
I would say when you say people, that people would be the segment that is actually supporting him. There is also a significant segment that is not supporting
getting
him.
a third term, boss. Third term. This argument hasn't convinced voters.
I'm asking you as a citizen, as a parliamentarian, do you find it worrisome?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We keep joking about, oh, look what Donald Trump has spoken here, and look how he has spoken to a journalist. He has spoken.
He continuously speaks.
And he continuously speaks.
He's abusive, though. But
he's abusive. But he takes even questions which are tough, difficult, whatever he does.
Even Putin takes questions.
Everyone
once in a
does.
year.
I mean, it's just unfortunate that, again, this has not become an important point for voters to actually ask themselves who is answering questions that we have.
Okay, just the last set of questions then, Priyanka. And, I'm just going to wrap it up in the next 5-6 minutes. Because you were a part of the delegations that fanned out across global capitals and post-Operation Sindoor. Have we kind of not thought through our foreign policy? I find a problem. I have covered foreign policy for long, that we tend to now reduce our strategic doctrines into Bollywood dialogues. 2.5 kilo ka haath kind of dialogues everybody's wanting to give. But when you give a statement saying that any act of terror can be an act of war, is there a limitation to that kind of a doctrine? Because you've perpetually given the power to somebody else to hold you at tenterhooks. And we have seen the kind of reactions which are dramatically different post the Delhi blasts, recently. What do you make of this strategy?
No, it's a very confused strategy. This entire hugs and hellos and handshakes and all, look at the camaraderie, look at the rallies, look at the kind of people coming and encouraging and the best friendships. I said this once to a colleague of mine, a fellow member of parliament from another country, where she asked me a question that how is it that this is post of 55% tariff? How is it that Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and Donald Trump seem to be really good friends? But why is he doing this to India? I said good friends do not necessarily make good strategy for the nation. So the minute we start understanding this difference, and she thought that was a very important thing to say, that you may have a very good personal chemistry, you may have personal, regards for each other, but ultimately it is how it benefits your nation. It's as simple as that. You're in a role to benefit your nation, because you've made a commitment to your nation and that what you can give. In terms of our foreign policy, I do find it extremely problematic. I'll give you one example. When the Ukraine-Russia war was at its peak, at that point where Indian students were stuck at various borders, I remember that time, and I think even Priyanka Gandhi Vadra faced a similar thing recently with the Israeli ambassador to India. So I remember tweeting to, there were a lot of students from who were stuck at the Poland border.
Yeah, the Polish ambassador
There was a bit of a confusion. I had tweeted, I did not even involve the Poland ambassador. I wrote to India and Poland, tagged India and Poland, saying that there is some challenge, if you could look at it, because there were a group of 10, 12 students who were being pushed back. And I had the Polish ambassador to India tell me that I was spreading lies. I said, how does this work? You are sitting in my nation, enjoying our hospitality and all the perks of being the ambassador, and telling a sitting member of parliament that she's spreading lies, and I've not even tweeted to you. I've not even tweeted to your handle. I'm not even complaining to the Polish authorities. I'm telling my embassy in Poland to just check on those students. And I did not get a word of support from anybody. And in fact, India and Poland Twitter handle went and retweeted that whole charge that Polish ambassador made towards me.
Absolutely.
I was
unfortunate.
disgusted, and I was all set to bring a privilege motion against him. I was dissuaded. I raised it in the select committee that I'm a part of, which is headed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And I do remember when it was discussed, we were dissuaded, which was fine, and that tweet was undone from the Indian handle. But if this is your policy, where someone can come up and embarrass your own member of parliament for not even talking to him, not even accusing, not even saying anything, just saying that there's some skirmish there, can it be checked? And I'm working in tandem with the government, right? I'm just trying to resolve this problem. So,
have you noticed how you keep delaying the things that matter most to you? You plan your...
And then we saw the same thing happen with Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. Yeah. You don't do this. You don't encourage these kind of policies and behaviors. And then it happened with y'all, where the Taliban embassy, the Afghanistan embassy did not allow women journalists in. Why was it allowed to happen in the embassy if it was if women were going to be kept away? Those were the rules that should have been laid down. So if your policies are all knee-jerk reactions, if your policy is about personal chemistry and personal comments that to go viral that we see, then it's not a policy. It's not strategic policy for my nation.
It's playing to the gallery, to your domestic audience.
Yes. And that is where my problem lies. And while I totally, my party and me supported the parliamentary delegation, we all went in the spirit of what was decided in the all-party meeting, that we will go along with whatever decisions the government takes. So now my question when I came back to India, and which I said it in the parliament to the Home Minister, that while you when you told us to go tell the world the message that we have zero tolerance to terrorism and act of terror, act of war, Indus river water sharing, whatever, that we have stopped, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, okay, but everything else is okay, but we'll play cricket. We'll make money over it. How does this work? And now act of terror is act of war. You're saying these are JEM modules, which you'll have uncovered in the Delhi blasts, and they were planning something bigger. These are people who have been indoctrinated while working in India, while being Indian citizens. Then if that was an act of terror you've claimed, and it has Pakistan role in it, which is the JEM, then why is that not considered the act of war?
Yeah. So, I mean...
So that dichotomy, that entire confusion is something that I think in itself speaks for it in itself, right? So those are things which... I think is something
so if you feel that we are actually indulging more in rhetoric, less in substance, and which is why this perception that at the end of the day, we are way more isolated today on the global stage, than we were actually.
Oh, absolutely.
Before, even 2019 Pulwama attack saw much bigger support for us.
Absolutely. And Smita, another thing that I've been going on, saying this entire thing of, if you don't toe our line, we are going to block you, we will not allow your channels to function, etc. These don't work. These don't work. You need to have a smarter strategy to fight back. So on the 10th of May, when de-escalation happened, perhaps it's the first time in India's history, in the world history, that a US president is telling us that there has been a de-escalation.
And he continues, of course, to talk about...
Why didn't we preempt it sooner? Why did we wait for Vikram Misri ji to come and speak at 6 p.m.?
And then he faces the abuse and the brunt.
There should have been a political call that as soon as this was decided, someone from the political space should have come and made that announcement before we handed... And we all know how Trump works, right? So... and now he continues to say that it was him who brought this, and there's clearly a miscommunication. So the point is as simple as that. There was a whole lot of narrative going against the nation, misinformation, disinformation, and that was not okay. So you kept the Indians insulated by blocking channels, blocking blah, blah, blah. But the world wasn't insulated, right?
Yeah.
The world allowed that freedom of speech to continue, whoever says whatever, and the narrative was built. So you have to look at it through a larger perspective. National security is not just reduced to what you're doing at the border. National security now entails a lot more.
Yeah. And I mean, there's the online world, the offline world. There's so much more I can actually talk to Priyanka with, but I guess we'll have to keep some subjects and talk about it in details in later episodes. But before I end, Priyanka, how has politics changed you as a person?
I think it's made me much stronger. I look at it as a trajectory where I could learn more, engage with people who really are at the helm of policy making in political spaces. I got to meet them, learn from them. I learn from even those who sit in the treasury benches, even if they have not much to offer, but I learn. But I learn. I learn from leaders across, and the exposure and experience it gave me is invaluable, I would say.
Have you become more politically incorrect? Increasingly, do you like quoting controversies, or do you like a magnet for?
I think I'm a magnet for controversy. So even if I go just stand on one of the stairs of the parliament, I'll create a controversy out of it. So some people have that knack, right? So I probably have that knack. So wherever I go, controversy follows. But I learned to make peace with that. And it's okay. I mean,
so whether it's a photo with Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, whether it's a photo with the Prime Minister, and I think she's already spoken a lot on these issues. So I'm not going to bring them up anymore again.
Because that reduces the IQ level of people who are talking also, you know, and the listeners also be like fed up, can she just live her life? You know?
Okay, just one final question. You again going back to the young Priyanka Chaturvedi, who you said was actually writing handwritten notes and op-eds in the era of AI and Chat GPT. How much of AI are you now using? How do you prepare to keep yourself abreast? Because anybody can shove a mic and ask you a question about anything. What is your daily life like when it comes to preparing yourself to face the media?
I still am such an old school kind of a person. I don't use ChatGPT to draft anything at all.
Give me a high five. I think we will both be cancelled for this.
Yeah, I know. Once my son told me, why don't you just ChatGPT it? I was like, what nonsense. Why can't I read about it and do it myself, right? So I read a lot. Like I initially told you, I read a lot, and I may not be tweeting much, but I read a lot of what's happening on social media. Especially all my news breaks at least come from Twitter majorly, what is happening, and I read up about it. And I read all versions, right? I just don't read my version or the one that I want to believe. I would want to listen to all versions and then make a mind of my own. So I do that, and yes, I still write handwritten notes. I still read physical books and not ebooks. And so yeah, you can call me old school, but that is how it is. But considering that I don't socialize much, I'm not out there much. I prefer to be at home reading stuff and understanding stuff and grasping stuff, policy papers, etc., and contributing the way I can.
So one final word of advice to students. I mean, between the politician Priyanka and the parent Priyanka, is student politics, campus politics, good, bad, ugly? What's your advice to the youth?
I would tell them, so I'm not a person who is a strong believer of student life politics. I'm someone who believes that students need to grasp every aspect. And that is why I continue whenever I go to colleges and schools, I tell them, I encourage students to read a lot more. And not just, like I said, not just read your version of what you believe or your side of the truth or what you believe is your truth, because there's several shades to the truth also. Read everything before you make up your minds as to where you want to be and where you see yourself as contributors. And whenever you do take up some assignment, there should be a commitment involved in it. The commitment to keep growing, keep learning, and keep improvising. So those are things I always make it a point that just because you believe in something does not necessarily become the best way or the best version of the truth. Right. Again, read up and understand what you're doing before you jump into something which can lead to controversies, which can lead to even problems. And we are seeing this happen during protests, etc. The youngsters are the most vulnerable to a state police coming forward and clamping you down and scaring you for life. So those are things which I would really recommend. Be very clear about your vision, your commitment, and what you're bringing to the table.
Okay, so yeah, you got to find a voice early on is fine enough. Read. Please, guys, I can't insist enough that how much you need to read. And yes, very important point that Priyanka says, I think it's to make a conscious decision to not be a part of an echo chamber. Listen into the other voices. Of course, you make your opinion as an informed choice. And yeah, I know ChatGPT, AI, all these tools are great. There are some gray cells, critical cells. We've survived long enough without them. You can too, perhaps, if you give it a thought. But thank you so much, Priyanka.
Thanks.
Lovely chatting to you, like always. I did not bring in any sorry questions. But yeah, that's all that we have for in this episode. Watch out for the next conversations also that's upcoming. With video journalist Meherban, I'm signing off for now. Goodbye and take care.
Do you know what will happen?